Good afternoon and welcome to ED523. I'm Dr. Sarah Giuliani and I will be your instructor for this course this semester. So I wanted to reach out today. I wanted to give everybody a moment to download the syllabus yesterday, print it out, take a look at it, and take notes before I provided any information, because I was hoping that if there was a question, it would have come in today and I could have clarified it on the syllabus for when I made this video for you. But I didn't get a whole lot of questions, so I'm hoping that the syllabus was pretty straightforward and gave you enough information that you know what you're going to be preparing for this semester. So let's get started. I have found a PDF online that I have linked to the syllabus, so you can find one of your readings every week, or maybe 2 readings every week, comes straight from this. So instead of having to purchase the textbooks that I had in mind, there were several of them so you could find all the information. I found this nifty PDF. So I hope you're able to find it online. If you have any problems finding it, let me know. I can send you a link directly. The other textbook we're going to be using this semester is Reading, Writing, and Learning ESL. I've taught at Adams last fall, and I noticed that I had a lot of students in that cohort, particularly that had students that were ESL or TESOL or ESOL. So I chose to kind of focus one textbook specific to ESL students as our diverse population. I thought that maybe that might be the same for your classrooms, especially the growing population of people that are moving to the United States that English is not their first language. So I figured that might be a good place to focus a lot of our attention for the entire semester. So this class is really going to focus on helping you gain the necessary skills, orientations, and competencies to advance the literacy of learners and their linguistic and cultural knowledge in your class. So I presented the textbooks for you so you have an idea of what that is. I also recommend you get the Making Content Comprehensible for English Language Learners, the SIOP model or SIOP model. I have used this textbook in the past, and the students in the past had already had this textbook because they were taking another class that recommended the students create lessons around that. So you probably already have that textbook. If you do, great. If you don't have it, you don't have to purchase it. It was just a recommendation for maybe when you're completing some of your assignments or activities, you might want to reference that in your reading or in your writing. So that's there. You certainly don't have to purchase it if you haven't purchased it yet. That's completely fine. So the other things I want to talk about is that this class is online, and while it is online and it is a synchronous, asynchronous hybrid class. So you have the official readings that you're going to need to read every week already provided to you. They're provided in the syllabus, and as I'm completing the rest of the modules, you'll find the readings right there in the modules. The readings are likely not to change, so feel free to read ahead. I know there's a lot of reading in this course, so some of you are going to have to read ahead. However, the only thing that I need you to understand is that the discussion boards will never be opened early. That is something that I don't like to do. I like to keep your discussion boards fresh and in the moment, something that's happening while you should be reading it that week. Even if you've read it a few weeks before, at least you have an idea of what's going on in the present moment, and everyone can be talking about the same thing during one given week. It also helps me check with your attendance in class that you are attending and you're attentive to the material. So no, the discussion boards will never be open early for you. We have 3 course goals that we're going to cover over the semester. Produced licensed candidates and candidates who will meet and exceed the proficiencies for teachers. Produce teachers who exemplify the core dispositions as educators, and to produce teachers who can incorporate evolving professional standards. We will be going over those goals throughout the course of the semester, throughout the different activities that you're going to be completing. So the course outline really moves through what we'll be doing through the course of the semester. So the course schedule, the introduction module is really just a greeting. I'd like for you to read the syllabus, record an introduction video of yourself saying hello to your classmates. Most of you have already done this already. Great job. And now that you've introduced yourself and said hello to your peers, now you can move into week 1, which is the introduction and perspectives on literacy. There are there's three different things for you to read. There is the first chapter and the intro in the PDF file. There's an article from the Washington Post about the public school students and living in poverty. And then there's different videos that I'd like for you to watch, different clips. I won't test you on the videos. So you'll never get a question that's coming maybe on the video to assess if you watch the video. It will really be something, the discussion board questions would really be questions that culminate everything that you read. And so definitely you can use those videos to reference your answer. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you haven't watched the video, you aren't able to complete the discussion board. I try to keep the discussion boards more on the specific articles from the PDF and from the textbook, so that way you can stay up to date on what you need to be doing, because there is a lot to be reading and a lot to stay on top of. The next thing I wanted to talk about is that you have, and I'm going to flip to the page, you have these different assignments, and I know they might be a little confusing, and that's really what I wanted to talk to you about. If you go to the Adams website, and I'm going to pull up our Blackboard account while we're talking, that way I can, or while I'm talking and you're listening, that way I can answer specifically some of the questions that I think you may have. So the first, let me pull it up. So you'll see when you click on learning modules, you'll see the introduction module. Most of you have already found your way to it. So you'll see that I've introduced who I am, a few little sentences about who I am, what the course is, letting you know that it's an intense course and demands a lot of time reading. But if you click on the introduction module itself, within that introduction module, you'll see a place to download the syllabus and then the discussion board. Once you get out of that, you'll move into the week of 8/28 to 9/3. In the week of 8/28 to 9/3, I always try to date the modules so you know exactly what you're doing this week. Everything should be linked there for you to complete. So your intro, your chapter 1, the article that I want you to read, and then the videos that I'm asking you to watch. Then you see the discussion board. You click on it, it links you straight to the discussion board, and you find discussion 1. Next week, you'll find discussion 2, and so on and so forth as we move through the semester. Then, if you go down, you'll see that there is teaching reading notebook and then teaching activity assignments. Those are 2 different things. So all of the notebooks that are due are embedded in that particular learning module. All the teaching activity assignments are embedded in that particular module. So you don't have to go back into the modules and find it. They're right there for you. You can work on them whenever you see fit. So just because the due date might be September 16th or something, a specific date, I don't have a calendar right here. Let me pull it right here. I know that you have the classroom environment notebook due on the 10th of September, right? So if your classroom environment notebook is due September 10th, that does not mean that you can't start working on it today if you want. Your classroom environment activity is due the 17th. That does not mean you have to work on it only the week of September 11th to September 17th. You're welcome to work on these ahead of time if it is easier for you. That way you know you have a lot going on in your classroom. You know when you have a set time to do this. So Discussion boards, you cannot work on early because they will not be open to you. However, the activities and the notebooks you can work on early. So if you click on the Teaching Reading Notebook, you'll see that you click on the Reading Notebook assignments. And within those assignments, you'll see Creating a Context for Learning. When you click on the Context for Learning, you'll see Classroom Environment, Fluency and Word Study, Building Comprehension, Teaching Writing, and Diverse Learners. When you click on Classroom Environment, you'll see two different learning modules. You'll click Classroom Environment, and those will be the step-by-step instructions of what you need to do to complete that assignment. Everything will be right there for you. The questions you should think about before you watch the video, the questions you should think about before you do the reading, because there's a reading and a video attached to these notebooks. And then you have questions that says answer. And under that answer, those are all the questions I want you to answer for your notebook. Then if you click, if you are in the Classroom Environment module, you'll see Classroom Environment, which is where I just was, or you'll see Turn in your Classroom Environment Notebook. Right there, you click on the button, you can turn in your Classroom Environment Notebook then. Now, while you can work ahead, these due dates are things that you have to follow. You do have to turn them in by the date that is suggested for you to turn them in. You can work ahead, but you can't just work on the writing one because you feel like doing the writing one, and then next week you'll do the comprehension one. You have to follow the actual due dates. So that's how you complete the classroom assignment, the classroom notebooks. The classroom notebooks are designed the same exact way. So each time you'll click on whatever the content is, and then after you click on what the content is, then you will just follow the step-by-step for each one. Then if you go back to learning modules, and you go down to teaching activity assignments. There are activity assignments that are linked for you right there that go along with a fluency activity, a reading comprehension activity, a writing activity, and a diverse learners teaching activity. You'll click on the actual activity, which I will click on the fluency activity. I click on the fluency activity and it tells you exactly what you need to do to complete this assignment. And it tells you when it's due. So your fluency activity is due September 24th. I tried to keep the notebooks and the activities together. So if you're doing a fluency notebook, then next week you'll have a fluency activity due. That way it's fresh on your mind. You were thinking about it all that week. It's pretty easy for you to do the notebook and then complete the activity back to back. So I think that should help you. The next thing I wanted to talk about is you also have a reflection paper. So at the end of all of your notebooks and the end of all of your teaching activities, you will create a 5-page reflection paper. The 5-page reflection paper should be written in APA. I'm sure all of you know how to do that. If you have a difficult time with APA, you can always Google it. I like to use the OWL at Purdue. It's pretty helpful, convenient, it's online. But this particular reflection paper is to reflect on your teaching notebooks, your activities, and your readings throughout the entire semester. You can also work ahead on this assignment. I don't have the rubric ready for you, but I hope to have it ready for you by the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Basically, what you'll do is you'll reflect on all the assignments that you completed in your classroom. You'll tell me a little bit of how it went, how you used the particular strategies, how they supported the kids, or how you might tweak it. You might find that strategy did not work well for you in your classroom. You might find that another way to teach fluency in your classroom you feel works better for you. So you'll tell us about that experience, that you'll tell me in your paper about that experience, why you felt like it works better for you, and you'll reference and you'll cite information to support yourself. Or you might say, I did this activity, this is how it went. I read in my readings, it supported these ideas. And so you'll definitely use the readings that I've provided you within the actual course and within the specific activities and notebooks to support everything that you're writing about in that reflection paper. You also have 14 discussion posts. Someone did have one question. it does say that you have to post a 250-word, 2-paragraph thread in response to my prompt. That's just a good general rule of thumb. I understand that my first discussion board has multiple questions. So if you would prefer to write your answer under those multiple questions, that's completely fine. Please expand on what you're saying. It always supports other people's discussions when you provide more information in your discussion board. What's also really great and really gets the conversation going is when you end your specific discussion board with a question of your own that prompts people to get involved in your discussion rather than just leaving a statement at the end. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. Please know that I'd like to have your discussions, your initial discussions by Thursday. So that should give you enough time to do the readings and then complete your initial discussion board and then respond to your 2 peers by Sunday evening at 11:59. So initial post Thursday, final post Sunday 11:59. You'll notice that there are no quizzes and there's no final exam for this course. I think that with your interactions with the readings and the discussion boards and the notebooks and the assignments, there's so many things going on that's due every week that I think that we can gauge your understanding, especially when you're involved in those discussion boards. So I think that's pretty exciting. You'll have a lot to talk about, and I'll get to learn a lot about you without having to take a multiple choice or true false quiz every few readings. Please know that I do not like to accept late assignments. I understand this. This is a level of course that requires a lot. I also realize that you are teaching. Some of you have families, so I understand things happen. I have 3 children of my own, so I understand a child gets sick, things happen. But I try not to accept late papers. However, if you are turning in something late, please know it'll receive a 10% deduction if it's late, and then assignments submitted more than 1 week later will be a 20% reduction. And then 2 weeks after the due date will not be accepted. So please just try to stay on top of your assignments and your due dates and when things are due. So you understand the Americans with Disabilities Act, and if you would like to speak with someone about your specific disability, you can contact the Office of Disability Services. And they can assist you in getting any specific accommodations or modifications that you might need for this course. Please remember the online decorum that you should use in any course online. You're all professionals, and so we want to make sure that we keep our discussion boards professional and supportive because we're all doing great work together. You're all in different classrooms together supporting our neediest and our most special human beings on the planet, which is our kids. And so I hope that you will keep that in mind as you write your discussion boards. Please remember there's access to the library. I've noted that in the syllabus. Also about academic integrity and looking at the student handbook of code and conduct. That's also mentioned in your syllabus, so take a look at that. And that's pretty much it in terms of things I felt like I needed to go over, things that you needed to know about this course in particular. I guess, and I should have started with, and I didn't, introducing who I am. I know I wrote it in the discussion board introduction, but again, as I stated in the beginning, I'm Dr. Sarah Giuliani. I'm very excited to be teaching this course. I have an undergraduate degree in elementary education, a master's degree in special education and reading, and my doctorate is in communication and language development. I earned that in 2012, so I have been teaching, I taught elementary education in the elementary classroom, K through 6. I was the reading interventionist. So I noticed someone else mentioned they were a reading interventionist, and then I went back for my master's because I always seemed to be the inclusion teacher, in my school, and I was at a few different schools because my husband's job moved us, but I always seemed to be the one who was very willing to take on the kids with disabilities in my classroom. I felt that inclusion was a definite, it was something that definitely was important to me, and I felt that it supported all the learners in my classroom, and truthfully, I felt like it made me a better teacher, and it made me really think about the topics I was discussing and how I was presenting them to such a vast difference in abilities in my classroom of 25, 30 students. After I taught elementary, when I went back for my master's, I supervised interns at the University of Florida in Florida, and I still actually work with student interns in Florida, which has been very rewarding for me to work with my student interns and getting in the classroom, and I do it virtually, but getting in the classroom and see what they're doing and see what they're working on. And I'm super excited about the upcoming teachers that are coming into our school system, and I just think it's fantastic to see people still wanting to be teachers, and I very much applaud you for being a classroom teacher and going to school and furthering yourself and furthering your knowledge about classrooms and teachers. And then when I went back for my doctorate in 2008, I worked at the Florida Center for Reading Research, and so I did research in teachers' use of nonfiction texts in the classroom, which was really poignant at the time. However, Common Core came out, and it made my work pretty much null because now we force teachers to use nonfiction text. So that happened on my way, and now I've been teaching at different universities. I taught at Adams last fall, and I teach at other universities, and I typically teach reading and language development, special education, inclusion, perspectives on disabilities, and now literacy with diverse learners. So I'm incredibly excited. I really very much look forward to meeting you this semester, and I hope that you will find that this course will be rewarding, and all of the readings, and I know there's a lot of readings, but all of the readings will support you at some point in your career, and maybe even the readings that you can provide to your colleagues in your classroom, at your school, and you can support them as well, because not everyone can go back to school. So I look for you to share all of this information that you're learning. And that's pretty much it. So I look forward to hearing more about you on the discussion board, and I hope you have a wonderful Monday.